What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. Today we're having a look at the brand new data download for the OPTC Girls Treasure Sugo Fest. So we did make a video last night talking about this brand new batch of characters. While we didn't have all the information at that point in time, we now have the data download to give you guys a bit more of a rundown as to what you should expect for these characters. If you guys want to see like my overall thoughts and opinions on this unit, I give my initial reactions in that video. Mostly it's negative. I really don't think these characters are all that great, but let's see if any of these additional effects are going to redeem them in any way. So first of which, let's just discuss the Sugo Fest itself. So, you know, a pretty typical treasure map Sugo Fest, debuting on the 7th of July. So we'll get likely the news post about everything tomorrow. The day after that is when the Sugo Fest goes live. Part 2 on the 8th. Part 3 on the 9th, with characters changing each time. Additionally, the OPTC Girls Sugo Fest characters, these ones you're seeing here with Robin Koala, Ulti Black Maria, I believe these characters should also be on the Treasure Sugo Fest as well on parts 2 and 3. So that's probably where I'm going to be doing my pulls, to potentially pull one of these new legends alongside potentially the new Nami and Carrot character. And as we said, you know, it's a pretty typical treasure map Sugo Fest. You know, discount on the 1st, you got a recommended on the 3rd, a legend on the 5th, and a new character all the way on the 7th, which is, it's honestly a lot. It's a lot to go that deep for a new character, but the 3rd multi getting you a recommended character is pretty big, meaning if you do get a gold, it's one of the new boosters, which is pretty good. But then if you get a red, it could potentially be, you know, the new Nami Carrot, or you can get a treasure map legend, which I know a lot of people out there don't have a lot of those treasure map legends. So I get that that's honestly not a terrible step. A recommended step on these Sugos are actually pretty good. But of course, if you go all the way to 25 multis, yes, you can get the new Nami Carrot, but I really wouldn't advise doing 25 multis when we know One Piece Day is right around the corner. You know, it should be a pretty big celebration this year. At least that's what we're all anticipating it to be. So as we said, let's actually talk about each of these units in a bit more detail. So we have the Smoothie character, and just a little bit of a refresher, removing damage reduction, defense, and threshold by 4 turns. I wish it was 5 turns. And then depending on how much you've overhealed, you get differing effects. So initial special, you get an orb boost. If you heal a certain value, you get an attack boost. If you heal over a certain value, you get base attack boost. So this unit by herself can potentially provide like so much damage for the crew, as well as providing utility, adjacent slots into recovery. So there's lots to like here, but unfortunately removing those defensive effects only by 4 turns really hurts this character, to be honest. Really wish that she potentially would have had double special to remove up to 8 turns of those defensive effects. Would have been a huge thing for this unit, and would be amazing. Probably would be one of the best rare recruits to get in the game. Unfortunately, that is not the case. As for her crewmate abilities, which we couldn't see before, she cannot be blown away, which is kind of unique. Not too many characters have that. But that's pretty much it. She does have hunger, which I guess is kind of cool, pinch healing. But another thing is we couldn't see the supports with the previous data leak, or not leak, but data mine, I guess. In the support of this character, Big Mom Katakuri Cracker, when you reach the final stage, heal 2000 and give the character a recovery slot. Not the best support ever, because it only gives it to the supported unit, which I guess if you just need a support that gives you a matching slot, I mean, sure. There's definitely a few characters that can already do that. It's just kind of whatever. This unit's fine and going to be really good in the treasure map, obviously. And the thing is, though, is I feel like this is going to be really good in the treasure map, where you have, you know, Nami and Koala, Nami and Carrot, should I say, Robin and Koala, and then Ulti and Maria. They all have these switch abilities, which we'll talk about in a moment, because we didn't really get a chance to discuss it in the data mine yesterday. But this special synergizes really well with those legends and their switches, and we'll talk more about that once we get to the legend. So here we have Pudding. Again, we didn't really get a chance to talk about everything in complete, context here. So we can see her special: healing, 6 turns, paralysis removal, adjacent slots recovery, and then if you've got a cerebral or a fighter captain, you extend the duration of chain locks and base attack boosts by 2. Pretty okay-ish special, I guess. I don't see this character seeing much play outside of the treasure map itself. As for crewmate abilities, sets all slots to recovery at the start of the quest. It's very good. Characters that just give you certain slots at the start of the quest sometimes are literally used just due to that crewmate ability alone, and this allows you to heal very, very quickly to ensure that you have these specials that are focused on how much you've healed or overhealed. This type of crewmate ability is going to be amazing for these types of specials. The other one is just some stat boosts, and she does have the hunger and pinch healing just like Smoothie did. So the support of Pudding is actually really cool. So it attaches only to Sanji, but it says that when you reach the final stage, the middle row slots are changed into recovery and it goes through block slots, which is huge, and heal 4000 HP. That's actually really good. That's a very good support that will definitely see play. Not bad at all, just guaranteeing you 2 slots. It's pretty good. So Pudding, I think she's probably going to see a bit more play just because that support is better and that crewmate ability is very powerful. But again, her special doesn't do like a whole lot, unfortunately. And now we get to talk about Nami Carrot. And I gotta say, artwork wise, I'm actually a big fan of this artwork, but it's just the character themselves are not that exciting. So we already talked about the captain ability. It's exactly what it said on the data mine. You know, cooldown reduction, healing at the end of the turn, attack boost if you're above full HP, 5 times attack otherwise, health boost, matching slots, allow you to overheal, you know, pretty typical stuff. We haven't seen the solo captain ability. So the healing is less. Previously in their dual form, it's a 2 times recovery at the end of the turn. Now it's a 1 times recovery at the end of the turn. 5 times attack when you're at full HP, 4.25 otherwise. That's actually very weak. For a dual unit in 2023 in their solo form, you know, ranging up to 5 times is obviously very good in a solo form, but 4.25 is actually really low. That's definitely like something that you'd see in like, you know, 2021 or something like that. Very odd. The rest of the effect is pretty much the same, and I assume this will be the same as well. So Carrot is going to be a little bit different, as she actually gives you a 4.5 ranging up to 5.25. That's actually pretty good, but Carrot does not give you healing at the end of the turn. So there's the bit of the trade-off there. Of course, in their dual form, they have both components of a high attack boost ranging to 5.75. Which is what every other dual unit has come out since the anniversary has been at a minimum at their max capacity, a 5.75 times multiplier, which is good considering the fact that dual units don't get access to super types, super class, something like that, right? Because those effects give you additional damage for your certain colors or classes, which is kind of big. So they need to give them higher multipliers, which makes sense. So another thing we needed to talk about was the crewmate abilities. Sets crew's recovery slot, or makes recovery slots beneficial, which is perfectly acceptable as a crewmate ability. And then the other one, healing 800 HP at the end of the turn. Very cool crewmate ability just to give you more auto healing. Very nice to see. Now, another thing is the switch abilities. We didn't get a chance to talk about that in the data mine. So the switch ability of this character completely removes their own special bind, which we already kind of knew about. We kind of could surmise that judging on their special. Then it removes all enemies' defense up by 1 turn and apply a 15% resistance down for Dex and Int, and changes their own slot into recovery and heals 2000 HP at the end of the turn for 1 turn. So it is a little strange that they do the healing at the end of the turn. Little bit bizarre, I must admit, but it's interesting, I suppose. And then their super swap only requires 4 switches, which is actually pretty good, and it's pretty good. It's just a buffed version of it, removing special bind. They do the defense up removal by 3 turns, 30% resistance down is really good, and then recovery slot and heal 7000 at the end of the turn. So the thing is I'm really going to compare this kind of switch ability to like Usopp Yasop in terms of an offensive aspect, because Usopp and Yasop have the switch where they apply 30% resistance for free spirit and shooters, whereas like a character like this, or like Shanks and Buggy, who also did a very similar thing too, where their switch effect applies a resistance down for int and dex. And the thing is you actually can't get both of those to activate simultaneously, because a character can only have one type at any one given time. But with Usopp and Yasop's switch effect, them applying a resistance down for classes is much better, because you can actually have multiple classes on one unit. So Usopp and Yasop actually get the benefits of both being a shooter and a free spirit resistance, so both of those multiply together. Unfortunately, these type of resistances, while it is still good to get a 30% bonus, it's never a bad thing. It's not as good offensively as what Usopp and Yasop can provide. But this also removing special bind to allow you to use their special basically at any point to remove special bind is really good. And the defense up removal is interesting. So we know that Koala and Robin, they were able to remove, I think it was Rainbow Shield, I think. And then you have Maria and Ulti, and they could remove Threshold with their switch effects. And this partners very well with the Smoothie character that we just talked about, where that Smoothie only removes, 4 turns of those defensive effects. But that in partnership with these switch effects, allows you to remove more turns of these defensive effects. So it's going to be interesting to see what the treasure map boss actually does, because I'm expecting lots of defensive effects. We'll have to wait and see, because probably a character like Legend Carrot or something that can bypass defensive effects might actually be the way to go to get through this content if you don't have these new units. So we also need to talk about the Pipe Rumble abilities of this character. So Nami and Carrot are a supporter style character, and their Rumble ability gives Cerebral 5 attack, 5 speed, and then after 50 seconds have passed, Cerebral get 5 defense, 5 crit up. So I'm not the biggest fan of this, because after 50 seconds have passed, then you get defense. I feel like it should have been almost in reverse. Like, start off with like 5 defense, 5 attack, or 5 defense, 5 speed, and then after 50 seconds, then get the attack buff, or like then get the speed buff. I think it would have worked much better. The fact that you get the defensive aspects only in the second half of the game is a little annoying. I would have preferred if the defense was constant and either the attack or the speed was implemented later on. I think it would have worked a little bit better. Maybe it's a balancing factor. 26 CT for their special is relatively low comparatively to other past legends. So targets Cerebral allies for 5 attack for 20 seconds is actually pretty big. And then targets 2 enemies for 2.2 times damage. And after 50 seconds have passed, they target enemies in a large range for 2200 fixed damage. I mean, it's not a bad special, especially at that low CT. Like, you can get this special to launch like 3-4 times a game, probably, depending on the team comp, of course. It's actually pretty good. I don't think this character's that bad. I mean, Cerebral are already kind of hard to build teams for. Like, they're so legend heavy, and a lot of them are like restricted legends, right? So it's actually kind of hard to build a good Cerebral team. But I think that they're coming up with some interesting stuff. 30% damage reduction versus Driven. Unfortunately, no utility for her resistance. 150 HP at an interval is kind of trash. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really think that's very good, but the special and rumble ability are actually pretty good for this unit. So that's the rundown of all the stuff that you need to know in regards to the Sugo Fest and these new characters. So obviously, you know, pull if you want to get some of these boosters. You don't have to pull if you don't want to. You should still be able to build relatively good teams to beat the content, of course. If you have the boosters, it allows to rank much easier, but you know, it is up to you at the end of the day. I personally will be doing only a handful of multis. I definitely want to save gems for One Piece Day just in case if we do get something awesome for that. That's going to wrap it up from me, though. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. I'm that, guys. I'll see you guys within the next video.